10-ish episodes ago, I did something about all kinds of foreigners, and this was going to be a subsection, but I cut it out because that video and this section were bursting at the seams. Here it is. I've done 3 episodes on Swedish bands, and I'm also massively fond of that Swede punk scene from the turn of the millennium. That's what I'm going to look at next, but it's also a bit that I've chosen to delegate to my hands, so let's hand it over to them. There's something in the way Swedes grew up with English as a second language, accessible but not primary. They have a particular way with words. It's occasionally broken English, but they know a whole lot more Swedish than I do. But I'm from a place with a poorer education system. The only Swedish word I know is ja, which means yeah, like in a rock song. Oh yeah. And they far more frequently strike into something uniquely insightful, sometimes via that broken English. They've got that, plus a rich musical culture and some pretty praxis politics. Through Burning Heart Records, a ripe Swedish cousin of Epitaph, I found an affinity with the turn-of-the-millennium Swedish punk scene. I don't know what it was like to be there, but this music is often explicitly left-wing, like old music should be. Maybe with a select few exceptions that can be implicitly left-wing. If the scene is new to you, let The Hives be your preview, the most marketable global version, with their vision of a goofier Stooges with Mick Jagger up front being the central recipe. This kind of punk is more repetitive strain injury than wild chaos, with sharp, tense, precise musicianship. I'm not necessarily ranking whole careers here, just shining a light on the bits I'm aware of. Some of them are still active, some of them are coming back. I think Anglosphere people are more likely to be receptive to this if I just say the bits I know rather than try to swat up a holistic answer. As hell attempting as that is, watch me still do that a bit. Division of Laura Lee are a harsh and primitive square punk ready to overwhelm. The Black Album directly shows that. Filthy 4x4s with some cooler quiet parts sizzling away, and the White Album brings more accessible and melodic stuff without any compromise in what they already were. Still noise punk, still challenging to authority and standards, but more range, revealing depths like Mercury Rev or something, a dull mixture. They have access to all these cool minor key progressions and aggressive distortion, something like the Cooper Temple Clause. Yeah, achieving that kind of flavor from a separate and more basic start point. Sahara Hotnights start out as a really unique punk energy by throwing in all the right ingredients. Swedish punk vigor, that kind of Runaways girl gang flavor, classic Stooges stuff, punk synth, which is separate from synth punk, a sound that would have done well among Britpop, or at least should have. Ui's indie, they're actually way ahead of, and something that's just their own. One of those awesome barking voices. I know barking doesn't sound like it's a good thing, but you'll see when you hear it. I really need to catch up with the rest of their stuff. I've realized I've got some international releases with fewer tracks than other versions, and that's not acceptable. It becomes a more pop version of gang rock, kinda a more heartfelt The Donnas, with sass to match their muscle. Randy are like a Laura Lee who want to have fun. Fun punk in the US can be that gross out NoFX bullshit or squeak toy bling 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 bling. Randy provide a fun that's worth having and clever. The 2 I've got from them are cute and fun and smart too. They're at their best when they go cheesy but not quite trad, which you'll find dotted among more aggressive tracks here. Their technique on these 2 can be so identical to the Hives, you'll check the credits for cameos. Not a bad thing, just the sound they grew up together. Human Atom Bombs has more on it, Welfare Problems has better on it. I teased Millencolin back in the intro video, but I couldn't commit to really confronting their whole career or make an arbitrary cutoff. Neither would be satisfying to watch. And you know I insist on all my videos being extremely satisfying to watch. See, they started out as gurning teenagers, monkeying around in ska punk, an excruciating sound that had a following for a bit. Stupid child humor songs about eating and picking your nose. Some stuff here with value, but you really gotta get through other stuff to find it. I got this B-sides compilation, but it's only good in moments, as is anything else thus far. First Paper Truth album nicked a riff from this, I noticed like a decade after doing so. Ska punk bands either double down or hardcore grow-up, and these guys became gurning grown-ups offering a more Tony Hawk punk, maybe via a particular producer. The Penny Bridge album is a crowning glory, a coming of age and maturity without losing their character, just making it essential. They then went to hard rock very respectably. 11ing was the right move, because any other move after that one might have disappointed. From there, it settles to a groove where some tracks really shine. They've heard more emo pop from elsewhere and realized they're close enough to give it a go. It's still good on this one, then not good on this one. They've gone back to 11 with no substance underneath it. An elephant in this room is vocal auto-tune, and I got this B-sides compilation of their much better era with a documentary about their most famous album plus footage of an anniversary gig, where they've detuned the song several frets and his voice still barely manages anything live. The amount of studio cheating for this voice, generally successful cheating, can't always cover for its limits. Still, a coolly different voice. 2 more synths, and it shows some maturing in just the right way toward hardcore. If any Bad Religion fans have ever got through the whole discography and thought, damn, I wish there were more than just those few hundred songs that sound exactly like that, try these two. They're still witty, and now with their melodic gifts at their sharpest, they've become a real tight turbo punk band. I tried to get into Bombshell Rocks because of their anthemic singles, a bit more rancidy or rallying call gang chorus songs, but with an admirable positivity. I got their CDs and found just, block-headed masculine street punk, only worthwhile in small doses, a bit Dropkick Murphys like that. I did one of these for Noise Conspiracy, and I was apparently okay with my hair looking like that. They deserve the individual attention as a band, but I wasn't sure what to do with the rest of the Dennis Lixin, like I've ever said that name out loud before, discography. It didn't feel right to append it to that video. I keep checking up on this dude because we have the same politics and ambition and hairline, so I can even advocate his work that has the same band name as another band with whom it's ended up sharing a YouTube topic channel, a band with such tasteful album titles as... Yeah, this is the level of obscurity, ranking things from the perspective of their first ever listener. You're watching this instead of some other episode I've refused to do. I'll let the on-screen text handle the complexities of band names. This first one is the acoustic twiddles of someone with musical experience in a group, but not enough by himself, going solo. It's got quotable lyrics, but really hasn't found its footing. These are always going to feel like personal demos more than entertainment. Then it comes together into the delicate intimacy that first one should have been. A rare glimpse of a revolutionary and close-up. These tracks tend to sink or swim based on the amount of energy in the room, the number of musicians contributing, but they mostly swim. There's an amateurism to this first couple, some charm, but doesn't really need a listen compared to better band stuff he'd already made. Second one has a more convincing overall acoustic aesthetic and a more unique general approach among his work. Then they learn to call it a band and make it sound like a band, and this is good and fun, and maybe I should get this CD. This could easily count as a Noise Conspiracy album in its musical quality, but still a more disposable discount one, less of a message. Turns out you can just call an album Automatic if you want to, it's not copyrighted. Yet again, stepping up in punk band competence and confidence, now razor sharp. Despite this one doing all the right things, it just hasn't engaged me much as a little full length, whatever. Somewhere along Dennis's many band names we get to what I'm going to pronounce as Invasion, and it comes with more image, more determination. I'm skipping their Swedish language releases because it came to an extent where I'd have to buy them or worse, register for Spotify. And either way, you're bored of this section. By the self-titled Invasion has hardened into an urgent primal post-punk. This has been released with both Swedish and English vocals, and again, I've only engaged with the one I can understand. Let me assume the versions are of equal quality. It's got bits you already recognize from Dennis, and by you I mean me, but also slices of all those darker 80s bands. This one has Invasion's best English language single, but it's ultimately a lesser set. It's a fewer set too, a stingy 7 songs. Invasion's sound is sometimes just an arcane driving indie from the darks of a forest. Sometimes it's all about build-up and payoff, though there's a couple where they forget to pay it off. This 2018 2019 EP fortifies their sound with all the right ingredients, specifically synths. This brings flashes of a neon danger to their night rock, their atmospherics hitting hardest here, their best Anglophone release, despite not being full length. Maybe Beautiful Story should have been issued with this on the end, but then I'd skip to the last tracks of it. This Z with the line is the exact glyph I used to intend as a band logo and tag when I was like 13. We would be called the Zero Game, which should have a zero logo instead of a Z, but whatever. There was song ideas and people who said they'd join, but first they'd have to learn instruments. Invasion can have it for now. It's probably for the best I lost my first dozen song ideas. Like, I can remember them, but I choose not to. This new one's only on vinyl, so I ain't buying, but it's a more solid and lastable version of their sound via a pivot to, yep, disco. Hell yeah, guys, basement disco. Not extroversion, but charisma. But it doesn't soak all the way through. It's mostly in the track with disco in its name. I think that's my total experience of Invasion thus far. Really cool surface ideas, but nothing that's infected me. There's even a further EP, another example of things they should have put on the album. Maybe they were trying to keep the vinyl trim, but it doesn't excuse excluding this stuff. At least it's here. Same vibe, a bit sharper, compelling, if not compulsory. Honestly, perusing some of their Swedish language stuff, it seems a more consistently impressive version of what's ended up translated. Maybe I do gotta get to these. Maybe I should have got them before doing this video. Pretend I did, but that you skipped past that section. And if I really pursued my crush on Dennis, there's loads more. Respect to devoted musicians, but allow me to remember I'm highlighting things I already know, rather than trying to rank everything that exists anywhere at all. I really wish I could love the Cardigans. There's little bits I really engage with, but they've got a lot too much twee and turgid sleepiness in their discography, so I've learned to keep it to occasional songs. Not even the best of where it says listen for me, just a few awesome tracks. The sounds make yelping an art form. This isn't really punk scene, maybe indie dance punk scene post the Rapture or whatever, but rewarding to listen to. A great and distinctive voice. I guess I have to say it's a little Björky, but only a bit, and she's got a distinctive voice. This is a differently distinctive voice. It's full of bright colours and fun. Try these too. I should try some more, really. Sweden, huh? That's just a vague glimpse of a vague Vogue. The bits I was ready to come up with something about, but it felt like an important little bit of my music taste. Let my under-researched highlighting of one place at one time demonstrate how scenes are always happening and always really happening, at least if we don't enforce too much austerity for punk creativity to stay alive.